Welcome to our Bedtime Stories channel. Tonight's story will take you on a gentle journey into sweet dreams.
This is a gentle bedtime story about a little fox with a glowing lantern who guides two children through a magical forest to find their dream home, a calm, warm tale to help every child drift peacefully to sleep. On the edge of a quiet town stood a sleepy forest. The trees leaned toward one another as if they shared soft secrets. Fireflies floated like tiny stars. At the very beginning of the path lived a small fox with a warm, golden lantern. At night he lit his lantern and walked the first steps down the path to make sure it stayed safe for any traveler who needed a calm walk before sleep. Everyone called him Lumo. Lumo did not run or jump like other foxes. He liked to listen. He listened to the hum of the distant river. He even listened to the moon when it rose above the hill and seemed to breathe a silver breath across the leaves. When Lumo felt the world grow fast, he took one slow breath and let his light steady the dark. One evening, the clouds moved like soft pillows across the sky. The moon hid and the forest felt deeper and a little lost. A tiny child named Myra stepped onto the path with a small backpack and a sleepy face. She held a folded map that looked like a piece of bread with a bite missing. The map showed a star drawn in bright crayon. Under the star were the words, written in big letters, "Dream Home." "Hello," said Lumo. "Are you looking for the dream home?" Myra nodded and rubbed her eyes. "I am. I can feel it calling me. But the lines on my map keep moving. When I look, they slide away." "That happens when the night grows thick," said Lumo. "But we can make the path gentle again." From the bushes came a soft rustle. A boy named Theo stepped out, holding a small bell tied to a blue ribbon. He looked shy but brave. "I heard there was a lantern here," he said. "The bell helps me when I worry. I ring it once for courage, twice for kindness, and 3 times for rest." Lumo smiled and lifted his lantern higher. "You are both welcome. Walk with me. We will go slowly. The path is happier when feet move like feathers." They began. The moss under their shoes was cool. The night smelled like rain and warm tea. Somewhere an owl sang a note as round as a pebble. The lantern light drew a soft circle that moved with them and made the shadows curl like sleeping cats. Lumo hummed a tune with no words. Myra took a breath that felt longer than a yawn. Theo rang his bell once, and the sound drifted ahead like a tiny boat leading the way. They did not hurry. They counted 10 slow steps, then paused to listen. Each pause felt like a blanket tucked around their shoulders. The forest breathed with them, in and out, until even the wind yawned and settled near the ground. As they walked, the path widened into a glade where tiny moths danced like snow that forgot to be cold. A wooden sign stood there, painted with careful hands. It read, "Drowsy Path," underneath. In smaller letters, it said, "Follow the small sounds." Theo rang his bell twice for kindness. The bell answered with a soft silver note that seemed to float above the ground. Myra unfolded her map again. The lines still moved a little, but the star no longer ran away. It waited, as if it wished to be found by feet that kept a gentle rhythm. "What small sounds do we follow?" asked Myra. Lumo listened. He tipped his head, and the lantern glowed warmer. "I hear 3, he said. "A river that hums, a tree that whispers, and something like a sleepy laugh. If we listen, we will know which one wants to help us first." They chose the river. The hum was like a cat purring from far away. They reached a shallow bank where stones wore soft caps of moss. The water moved as calmly as a slow breath. Lumo set his lantern on a flat rock. The light made the water look like a path made of gold thread. "River," Lumo said, "will you sing us a safe crossing?" The river answered with a low, even song. The tune made their knees feel loose and easy. Myra stepped from stone to stone. Theo followed and rang the bell one more time. A tiny note that fit into the river's song like a small star fits into the sky. On the other side, something shivered in the grass. A hedgehog rolled out, round as a bun, then unrolled and blinked. Its nose twitched. Its back held tiny lanterns made from glowworm glass. "Name's Pippa," said the hedgehog in a voice like a pocket full of buttons. "Your light is steady. Steady light makes sleepy paths. Need a guide with short legs and good ears?" "Yes, please," said Mira. Pippa nodded and waddled ahead. "Step where the ground feels cool," she said. Cool means the earth is calm. Calm earth is kind to travelers who are ready to rest. They followed Pippa through grass that brushed their ankles like kitten tails. The night stretched long and soft, like taffy pulled by kind hands. Above them, the clouds thinned. A slice of moon peeked out, pale as milk. It watched without hurrying them, as if it knew the right place would wait until sleepy hearts were ready to find it. They paused at a stump shaped like a chair. Theo sat and let his shoulders drop. Mira traced the star on her map with one finger. Even the crickets lowered their song, as if they were tucking the night in. Pippa tilted her head and smiled. "Yes," she said. "The path is drowsy here." Pippa led them to a willow whose branches fell like soft curtains. The leaves made a whisper that sounded like a story told from pillow to pillow. Beneath the willow lay a pool so still that the stars rested on it like tiny boats that forgot to move. Lumo set his lantern near the roots. The light pressed under the leaves and warmed the bark with a gentle glow. "The tree that whispers," said Mira, her voice hushed without trying. Theo touched the blue ribbon on his bell. "What does it say?" Lumo listened again. "It says that rest is not a place far away. It is a room you carry inside. But sometimes the door is hard to find in the dark. The tree can show us the door if we promise to walk slowly and keep our voices quiet." They promised. Pippa curled into a soft ball and closed one eye, then opened it again. "I will keep the other eye for watching," she said. Foxlight, child breath, bell note, all steady. The path can open. The willow dipped one branch into the pool. Circles spread, wide and smooth, like the rings of a gentle bell. The leaves brushed Myra's hair and Theo's shoulder. Each touch felt like a hand smoothing a blanket, then tucking it just right. "May I try?" asked Mira. She held the map out, and a leaf touched the star. The star on the paper brightened, as if it remembered its own glow. It did not run now. It waited and seemed to smile. Theo rang his bell 3 times, soft as can be. The sound did not wake the forest. It joined the whisper and rested there like a small bird in a nest. Beyond the willow, a faint path opened through ferns and soft earth. Lumo lifted the lantern and looked back at the pool. The stars on its surface blinked slow. Content blinks. The moon slid out a little more from the cloud and looked like a slice of peach. They stepped through the green curtains. The air felt like warm tea with honey. Even their shadows grew rounder and gentler, as if they were getting ready to lie down and dream beside their owners. When the time was right, the ferns made a soft hush with every step. Sometimes a beetle crossed the path, shining like a button lost from a coat. Sometimes a night moth brushed their cheeks, leaving a kiss of air and dust. Mira's eyes grew heavy, but the warm kind of heavy, like bread fresh from the oven. Theo's bell hung quiet now. It seemed to rest too, knowing the way was kind. Lumo's lantern did not flicker. It held a small, steady sun inside it, a pocket of day that liked the night and wanted to keep it calm. At last they reached a meadow filled with tiny bells on thin stems. The bells were made of pale blue glass and moved gently in the breeze. Each one made a barely their sound, like the smallest sip of water. A wooden post stood in the center with words carved into it. "Ring only what answers your heart." Theo held up his ribbon bell. Should I ring it? Lumo shook his head. The meadow already knows you are here. Let it speak first. So they waited. The night stretched one long soft minute. Then a bell near Mira trembled and let out a tone almost too small to hear. Another bell answered on the far side, and the sound drifted across the grass like a smile. More bells joined, not loud, just many. The meadow became a blanket of breathy notes, each one asking no more than, "Are you ready to rest?" Mira looked down at her map. The star pulsed, slow and bright, and a new line drew itself from the edge of the paper to the middle, where a small house shape appeared that had not been there before. "Dream home," it said in tidy letters. Her mouth made a soft O of wonder. Pippa waddled to the post and sniffed it. "There is a rule here," she said. "If you want to find your rest, you have to leave something behind that is heavy. It does not have to touch the ground. It just needs to be named and then made small, like a button placed in a pocket." Mira nodded. "I carry busy thoughts," she said. "They run and run. I will make them small." She pinched the air as if taking a thin thread from her head and folded it slowly. Once, twice, 3 times. She blew on her fingers, and the thread turned into a tiny feather that drifted down and vanished. Theo spoke next. "I carry what ifs," he said. "What if I forget my lines? What if I lose the way? I will make them small." He cupped his hands and breathed into them. When he opened them, a bubble floated up, held one shimmer, and popped without noise. Lumo set the lantern at his feet. "I carry the wish to help everyone at once," he said. "But the night does not need that. It only needs a friend who will walk beside it. I will make that wish quiet." He touched the glass, and the light softened a little, warm and low, like a candle before a yawn. The bells changed their tune. They rang as gentle as rain on a roof. The moon stepped fully out and laid a silver path through the meadow. It pointed toward a small arch of vines they had not seen before. Beneath the arch, the grass looked like a rug woven from moonlight. Pippa's lanterns flickered along her back. "This is the way," she said softly. "We go together, and we go slow." They passed under the vine arch and found a hill as round as a sleeping cat. A door was set into the hill, painted the soft blue of a quiet morning. On the door was a brass plate with a shape pressed into it, a lantern, a bell, and a star. Mira smiled. Theo held his breath. Lumo felt the lantern warm his paw. "How do we open it?" asked Theo. "By doing what we have already learned," said Lumo. "We breathe, we listen, and we move like feathers." They stood side by side and took one slow breath together. The meadow bells hushed. The silver path grew brighter for a moment, as if nodding. Then the door clicked and opened a little by itself. Warm light flowed out, soft and buttery, and a smell drifted with it, like fresh bread, rain on dry stones, and clean sheets folded on a sunny morning. Inside was a round room with a high ceiling. The walls curved like an embrace. Cushions lay in gentle piles. A window looked up into the sky, and the slice of moon peered in as if it wanted to tuck them in with light. On a low table stood 3 cups of water that somehow looked like bedtime. Myra set her map beside the cups. The star on the paper glowed once, then became still, happy to have arrived. Theo placed his bell on a cushion. It hummed without ringing, the sound of a yawn halfway to sleep. Pippa chose a corner and rolled into the shape of a small sunrise. Lumo hung his lantern on a hook by the door. The room did not grow darker. The lantern shared enough light to keep every corner friendly. There were shelves too, filled with jars. Each jar held a peaceful thing, rain that had fallen on a quiet lake, the hush in a library when a page turns, the soft thud of a book closing, the puff of a dandelion there and gone. Labels and tidy letters told their names. It felt like a museum of calm. Mira found a blanket the color of warm sand and wrapped it around her shoulders. Theo stretched and felt his arms become long and light. Lumo rested his paws and tried a sip of water. It tasted like the first good breath after a worry has left. They did not talk much now. Words were no longer needed. The room had its own slow language. It spoke in the tick of a friendly clock, in the sigh of the night air at the window, and the way the cushions seemed to rise a little to meet tired backs. Myra closed her eyes and opened them again, just to feel the sweet weight of closing them once more. Theo leaned his head against the blue door and listened to the tiny song inside the wood. Luma watched both children with a smile that felt like a blanket too. When they were ready, the round room dimmed on its own, as if the walls knew how to close their eyes. The moon slid higher and laid a sleepy beam across the floor. Lumo took the softest breath and spoke so quietly that even the dust motes had to lean closer to hear. "Dream home is not just this hill," he said. "It is the place inside you that opens when the night is kind and the path is slow. You can carry it wherever you go. When you forget the door, listen for small sounds. A river hum, a tree whisper, a laugh half asleep. Your feet will remember, your eyes will soften, the door will find you." Mira nodded, already drifting. "Thank you for the lantern," she murmured. Theo nodded too. "Thank you for the bell. And thank you for the star," said Lumo, looking at the map on the table. "It waited for us until we walked gently enough to see it." They made their beds where they stood. Mira curled beside the window so the moon could watch over her dreams. Theo lay near the blue door so he could hear the wood's tiny song. Pippa tucked herself into a little bowl of fur in her corner. Lumo settled by the hook. His lantern turned to a small ember that blinked, and rested. The meadow bells outside rang once, the sound thinner than a ribbon and kinder than a whisper. The willow drew her branches close. The river kept its low song. The clouds pulled a blanket across the stars and left a few peeking out to keep watch. Soon the round room breathed in time with the sleepers, in and out, in and out. The night grew safe and soft. If you had opened the door then, you would have felt it too. The way quiet can hold you like arms. You would have smiled without meaning to. You would have stepped back and let the door close, and the latch would have clicked like a kiss on the cheek. The silver path faded with the dawn. The bells rested. The willows stood still. The river waited for the next night's hum. But Dream Home did not go anywhere. It rested inside them, ready to open whenever a lantern was lit, a bell rang kindly, or a star decided to wait. Morning would come quietly, with light that walked on tiptoe and birds that practiced soft songs. There would be warm bread, and the water would taste like a new promise. They would follow the path back, waving to the willow and thanking the river, leaving the meadow bells for night. At the town's edge, they would hug goodbye, knowing they could find this place again. All it would take was a slow breath, a gentle step, and the courage to listen for small sounds.